I have a different topic for us today.
Do you now?
I do. This is the 64th edition. It's properly in the title where the N is the only capital letter with the number 64 there. Why?
What?
Yeah. Why? Because we are old enough to remember this game console.
I don't want to tell you how old enough back I'm able to remember game consoles on, but yes, I do clearly remember that one.
The Nintendo 64. Yeah. As we see Bobby saying, I like to see Joe Coffey and Iron Survivor. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that too. Chris Best is ready for Joe Gacy. But right now we're talking a little bit N64. We're going to go off the rails and not talk wrestling at all.
Yeah, why not?
In fact, I'm going to do something a little different. Let's have ourselves a draft.
A draft, you say?
A draft. And everyone can play along as well. But we're going to go Nintendo 64 game draft. And I'm going to allow the people to pick who has the first pick.
Nice.
And I'm pretty sure it's going to be you. But
better hope, because you probably know these games better than I do.
I did no research. So
me either.
If you guys would like Bobby to pick first, type Bobby. If you'd like me to pick first, type not Bobby, because I think it's funnier. Bobby.
Well played.
Thank you.
The voting starts now.
And yeah, we'll do that. But yeah, your early thoughts on the Nintendo 64 console as we wait to see.
I remember having Nintendo Power magazine back in the day, and remember the announcement of the N64 and seeing those first images from some of the games that were going to be coming out, and just thinking to myself, whoa, 3D graphics, this is going to really expand what I know about video games and everything. And it became a big staple of my teenage years. Just about everybody had a Nintendo 64 at the time, and you go on the weekends and hang out and play. 4-player games. We were so used to these 2-player consoles. Now you could have 4 local players on the same system. The fun factor had just ramped up for all of us, kind of thing. And it was a glorious time in the video game world. Very fantastic.
See, I think this is because you kept messing with them a couple months ago.
I'm well aware. There
you go. You got
that he can't see the salt and pepper look I got going on the sides of my hair here.
All right, we have a tie right now. I'll wait for we got
breakers.
Bobby Stats. You're the. We're gonna put this on you.
We got it's a 2-1 now, isn't it? Or no, it's just 1-1. No, 1-1.
Bobby, your counting skills. Come on.
They suck. I know.
But yeah, Bobby Stats, we'll let you be the decider of who will take the first pick. Just remember, I gave you the nickname Bobby Stats.
Just remember, he took your championship. Just saying. Bobby, pick Parrish. It's cool, man.
You know what? It was my idea to do this. I'm going to give you the first pick because I'm pretty sure.
All right. So that I'm going to pick what I'm sure a lot of people would pick because it was the staple of gaming time with friends during this time, and that's GoldenEye.
Yeah, that I think that was the easiest pick. Yeah. You know what? That's a good.
There's another one.
Boo doo. See, I'm not picking what everybody thinks is cool. I'm picking games I like, my favorite ones, right? I'm not going to pick
these aren't my favorites.
The ones in there. But I'm going to pick Zelda, the Orc of Time.
Nice. Good pick. Yeah.
And we're going to go 5 picks because, there's a lot of games.
Okay. I'm going Mario Kart 64 for my second pick.
Nice. I like that one. You got to have Mario in there. That's a staple, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the game because it's meant for multiplayers. Mario Party.
Yeah, that one was up there for me as well too. That's an
The
excellent.
one thing I hated about that game, and as a teenage boy, I think a lot of people would understand. There's a game, and you have to use the palm of your hand to circulate this throttle, only to get a blister right in the palm of your hand. Again, as a teenage boy, not ideal. Bobby, third pick.
Oh, it is a wrestling show, and this one's great. WWF No Mercy.
Yeah. Then I'm gonna do I'm gonna do probably. You know what? I'm gonna go with WrestleMania 2000, just to kind of get my wrestling game in.
All right. No, I mean that was an awesome pick as well too. I mean, it, showed that WWF at the time could go head to head in that category and everything, and it was a fun game.
Jericho all the way on that game, by the way.
Yeah, Jericho's a great pick on there for sure. So what's that? That's 3.
That's 3. You got GoldenEye, Mario Kart, and No Mercy.
Okay, well, Super Mario 64 is going to be my 4th pick then.
Okay. What do I want? What do I want? I'm going to go to the good old classic Wave Race.
Wave Race. Okay.
Yeah, that was the first game that you always would get, or I got. And that was the game I convinced my parents to get because I had a temper when playing. And controllers, well, they needed armor because they stood no chance with my temper. But I told my mom, like, no, what I can do in Wave Race, I can crash into things and just do that instead. I went through a lot of controllers, by the way.
You were one of those kids, angry child. When it came to
I was one of those ones where I hated losing. I still hate losing, but I matured a little bit.
It's fair. Last but not least, then I am going to pick Star Fox 64.
Okay. Well, I do have a game in here.
Do you now?
It is one of my favorite games. I am not the biggest baseball fan, but the Ken Griffey baseball.
Yeah. It was a good series of games.
I'm gonna close off with that one because I was a sports guy. I was a jockey. And yes, I know I left Blitz on the table. I know that. It was an honorable pick. Had you taken any one of the 5 I took, I was going to take Blitz next because that game was just fun. Absolute fun. But yeah.
The NBA Jam games of old were a lot of fun too.
Yeah. I have like a boatload of games like just right up there too. Like I almost was going to go the Nagano Winter Olympics because that was a fun game.
That was good actually. I remember that one.
I love the curling because I was such a dick in that game. So if I was second, I would just bang their rock out of there and I would win 1-0. I played solid D in that game. It was all about defense and won me a lot of championships. But even Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey as a Canadian, oh, come on.
Yeah, you just had to.
You just had to. It's Wayne Gretzky's game, man.
Yeah.
He's the GOAT. If Tom Brady had a football game today, people would just be. I mean, the like NFL football fans, like hardcore football fans, they would be going as insane about a Tom Brady football game than Taylor Swift attending a game for the Swifties.
Yeah. The one crazy thing about the N64 was that really was our first glimpse into a different style of controller. I know that the Super Nintendo had kind of added a little bit to it, but that that more like modern design, like this is kind of more what we're used to nowadays with the joystick, the D-pad on the other side kind of thing. We've come accustomed to that now.
This is what I was talking about.
Yeah. So that didn't exist at the time. So this comes out and it kind of really changed the way we were playing games. You had to adapt to something new. It was kind of different. A lot of different buttons to learn and different ways that you could actually like progress in a game. But yeah.
Yeah. Chris Best also kind of my 5 to-go games were Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda, Orc of Time, No Mercy, Mario Kart, and Pokemon Stadium. See, that's the thing. I was never a Pokemon guy, so I never got into that. One of the games I left off the board that I thought was a staple, especially for a Canadian, 1080. That was a great game for snowboarding. And Chris Best is also saying, Blitz gets an honorable mention for me, although the game criticized me for winning the Super Bowl by only using the Hail Mary play as my go-to offensive move. See, that's what I thought was fun. And it was the only time as a New Orleans Saints fan, and if you understand the last 10 years of our history in the playoff, it's the only game where I actually liked no call PIs.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was a fun game. I thought it's a very innovative console at the time. I still think it's Nintendo's best console. Now, yes, I know they have handheld ones, but I'm not counting the handheld consoles as like the big game ones. I think there's a difference there. As you said, it kind of brought the multiplayer into everything, but with franchise staple like Mario, of course you're going to want as many people in there as possible.
It definitely was an interesting system and probably one of the best for sure. I mean, the one nice thing about Nintendo, and yeah, granted, I'm more an Xbox guy now more than anything. I do have a Switch, but I find that at least Nintendo tries to push and do something different with their systems. They understand they're not going to compete with an Xbox or with PlayStation when it comes to the graphics and those style of games. But what they can do is create a system that kind of has something available for the whole family, but does something different. And that's what I've liked about Nintendo, is always pushing those boundaries of different when they're rethinking their systems.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, like with, also, by the way, I think with GoldenEye and Mario Kart, I'd even have to give you my vote just on those two games alone.
A lot of hours spent on those.
Yeah. And I think, too, like the multiplayer on like a GoldenEye, even though, like, I will say they made a second Bond game, The World Is Not Enough.
Mm-hmm.
So underrated. The multiplayer in that was, I think, a lot more, like, very fun. It wasn't like the original, obviously, but so underrated. It's always a good time. But the creativeness on the original.
I think just like the game Perfect Dark, they both suffered from too much of GoldenEye having happened, to the point where those ones hit. Nobody cared quite as much as they did when GoldenEye came out, because GoldenEye was different at the time. And those were just updated, better versions of what GoldenEye had already produced.
It was one of those games that it just stayed so true to the movie, and like it was so amazing of a visual. And I thought it was the one game where like you were just blown away. In fact, I think a lot of people liked the game better than the movie. And the movie did very well, like very well. In fact, Chris Best saying, when Nintendo was putting out these classic consoles a couple years ago, I wanted them to make an N64 classic. Barry Monkey, yeah, you are right. The Wii was revolutionary, but a revolutionary dead end. I don't know if Nintendo can make. I'd be very interested to see if Nintendo can make anything better than the Wii. But I do think the Nintendo 64 changed and challenged PlayStation. They challenged maybe like somebody like Microsoft to come out with something too, because I think N64 I thought was a very different console in the sense of like where it stood, but I thought the Wii was probably their better one.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, Wii was revolutionary, like Barry's saying, a revolutionary dead end. They stopped with the motion thing, but the emotion thing was definitely a gimmick that people got really into. It sold a lot of copies. Don't get me wrong. The Wii did very, very well for itself. But then again, they pushed themselves to try different. The Switch, can turn into a handheld system from a regular system. And they're always pushing those boundaries, which I give them all the credit for, because they do hold that tradition very, very well.
And yeah, and when you have a staple like Mario, and then now you just saw with the Mario movie coming out last year, just how, and that was an amazing movie, like
Just
unbelievable.
the Legend of Zelda movie now.
Yeah, but and like didn't even say like Crash Bandicoot, like that was such a great game too. Like I would love to see that being like
but that was a PlayStation one though.
Oh, they did 1 for 2. Even like Bad Fur Day, great game. Too. I think Crash Bandicoot did N64 too, wasn't it?
Nope, that was PlayStation exclusive. Sony's PlayStation console. Just looked her up.
I am totally thinking of something else then.
Yep.
I know Bad Fur Day was a great game. That was one of my wife's favorite ones. And I know that is an N64 game because I got her a little keychain with a little mini cartridge. Bad Fur Day. That was a winner of a gift, by the way.
Yeah, wasn't it? It was Conker's Bad Fur Day is the one.
Yeah, Conker. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just always called it Bad Fur Day. We have In the Hot Seat podcast coming in saying, hello. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Hello to you. We're actually talking about the Nintendo 64 since this is the 64th edition, and hence the name. Get busting or get out as a little takeaway from their get in or get out phrase that they use to help launch the Nintendo 64.
I was just going to say, if anybody hasn't checked out In the Hot Seats podcast, go and subscribe today over on YouTube right there.
Yeah, do a lot of great things, and hopefully there could be a little bit more working relationship between our Ole and In the Hot Seat podcast, because we like their content. They do great stuff, and we support their content very much so. But yeah, I also like things like the Rumble Pack for the N64 too. Like those were cool.
That was fun. That worked really well in Star Fox.
Yeah, I just sucked at Star Fox, so I didn't like that game that much. I know you like those games, as you do play kind of a similar type game like that.
Starfield?
Yeah, well, I mean, in the same of like the realm.
Yeah.
It's flying through space. The same.
Yeah.
It's the same to me.
Picking up shit, making yourself look better, fixing your ship, getting shot down by enemies. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
or in the case of last night, walking straight into the edge of a rock for about half an hour while I fall asleep on the couch.
Yeah.
It goes without saying.
Yeah, it really does.
It has its charm.
One last comment, and then I'm going to go to the new calendar, the new and improved calendar.
New and improved, you say?
And yeah, a little bit. Bear Monkey saying they were going to sing "When I'm 64" at the end as well.
I'm 64.
Chris Best is saying, I'm actually surprised we haven't mentioned Kong 64. That was a fun game too. See, here's the thing about I'm going to get in this tangent now. Damn you, Chris.
I'm thinking you're going the same way I am on this one. So
I was Donkey Kong all the time. Mario Kart, Mario Party, Donkey Kong, my guy. Never really got into the Donkey Kong games.
Oh, okay. Not where I was going. I actually liked the ones on N64 a lot. Or not on N64, on Super Nintendo.
I thought Diddy Kong Racing was better than the Donkey Kong games, too.
Fair. No, I like the Donkey Kong Country games that they put out on the SNES. Like those I played a lot of. Didn't really play Donkey Kong 64 quite as much.
All right.
Was that the system where you could get the Donkey Kong bongo drums was like an accessory with the game or something? Like something just flew to my head that there was a version of Donkey Kong where you could actually get bongo drums along with the game.
I want to say yes, but I don't know because I never really played with those. I never really did, I never really had them, so I don't remember. That was for Donkey Konga. And then In the Hot Seat podcast coming. I never had 64, but GoldenEye was my jam every time.